Manager, as this meeting will take the appointment of the Chair and Vice this evening, I'll start the meeting procedures off. Just to confirm, this is a multi-locational meeting of the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee, which is being held in the Chamber at Penalta House and via Microsoft Teams on Monday, the 17th of November 2025 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and a recording will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those speaking will be publicly available to all via the Council's website. Voting this evening will be taken by a show of hands. For those attending in the chamber, please raise your hand when a vote is called. For those attending remotely, please use the hands up function in Teams. And just a quick reminder for any substitute members that are attending tonight in observation, you don't vote. So before I proceed on to agenda item number 1, to appoint a chair of the Community Council for the ensuing year, I'd like to call on Councillor Josie Rayo as the previous chair. She would like to say a few words to the committee.
Thank you, Emma. As you know, it is regret that I have to stand down as the chair or former chair of this committee. It's been a privilege serving on the committee as chair and vice chair and representing Marsycumber Community Council for the number of years that I've done so. But unfortunately, I've had to stand down. But I wish to place my thanks to all the officers, the county councils and community councils that have actually been on the committee with me, and I hope I wish you well and hope everything goes well for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rayo. To move on to agenda item number 1, to appoint a chair of the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee for the ensuing year. As members will know, the chair alternates between Community Council representative and County Borough Council representative every year. For this meeting, the swap now is the County Borough chair. So I'll move on to confirm that the nomination that we've received is for Councillor Teresa Heron to be the County Borough Chair for the ensuing year. Could I please have a mover for Councillor Heron's nomination as Chair, please?
I move that.
Can I move that, Chair?
Thank you. And can we have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. That's moved and seconded. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, members. That appointment has been made by the majority present. I'll now hand over to Councillor Teresa Heron. She will chair for the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you for appointing me as chair. I understand that Councillor Michael Parker is the Community Council nomination for Vice Chair for the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee for the ensuing year. Could I please have a mover and a seconder for that nomination? Thank you.
I move Councillor Parker as Vice Chair.
Thank you, Jo. Thank you, councillors. All those in favour, please indicate now by raising your hands. Please lower your hands. All those against, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. Any abstentions, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. Michael Parker has been appointed as Vice Chair of the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee for the ensuing year. We'll now move on to agenda item number 3, to receive apologies for absence. Can you please record any apologies in the meeting chat or advise committee services? Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interests in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Governments Act of 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Are there any declarations of interest, please? We move on now to item number 5, minutes of the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee that was held on the 20th of July 2025. For matters of accuracy, we'll go to page 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5.
Chair, can I move the minutes, please?
Okay, thank you, Joe. The minutes have been received and noticed as accurate record. Could we move to agenda item number 6 and take any matters arising from the minutes? We'll move on to agenda item number 6, matters arising. Members joining us remotely, please indicate using the hands up button. If you have any matters arising, members in the chamber, please raise your hand if you have any comments. We will take hands up in strict order of notification. Any matters arising? Thank you. We'll go to agenda item number 7, the review of the Charter for Community and Town Councils. This item was added to the agenda at the request of the Town and Community Council Liaison Committee. Lisa Lane and Emma Sullivan are present and will take us through the report.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I don't propose to go through the report. Obviously, you'd have seen the detail contained in the report and the appendices in relation to the Charter.
Yes, you might close it to you, I can't hear you.
Sorry, is that better? Yeah, can everybody hear me? Lovely. I'll start again then. So this report sets out a number of recommendations in relation to the progress to be made moving forward in relation to the review of the Charter. Members here will be aware that the Charter has been in place for, well, since 1996 with Caerphilly County Borough Council. There's been a number of amendments, but we generally follow the model Charter that's in place. Members will note that the documentation annexed to the report in relation to the intended review of the Charter moving forward, with Rhondda Cynon Taff and One Voice Wales being involved in the setting up of a model charter so that all town and community councils can consider and move forward with. So in terms of the recommendations, the committee are asked to note the content of the report and to defer the updates to the Charter until the outcome of the collaboration work has been completed with the WLGA and One Voice Wales and Rhondda Cynon Taff, and the reviewed model then is available for further discussion. We will then obviously report the Charter to a forthcoming meeting of this Town and Community Council Liaison Committee for members to debate further. Members will also note that the report suggests it's an opportune time to consult members specifically on the role of this committee moving forward and to seek views as to how it operates, how perhaps we can do better, how we can change the way we work to ensure we have full collaboration between town and community councils and the local authority. So members, I don't propose to go through the full detail of the report. As I say, you will have no doubt read the report, but Emma and I are happy to take some questions. Thank you, Chair.
Do you know why it was only Rhondda Cynon Taff that is a liaison with One Voice Wales?
No, I presume that obviously there was participation. You will have seen the documentation in the annex to the report. Obviously there was a full consideration. You know, the committee was established within the Local Government Housing Committee, so there would have been full participation there. So it may be that Rhondda Cynon Taff were happy to work with One Voice Wales and the WLGA on a review of the Charter, but I can make further inquiries and let the committee know.
Thank you.
Can I call in Councillor Judith Pritchard second, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I assume that, you know, we have got quite a good relationship with the council. I was really quite upset to see that in 513, there's a suggestion that we do away with the committee. This seems to be a bit of a trend with this council, because only last week I went to a GAVO meeting, and apparently the voluntary sector subcommittee is under attack. I think it's very good to have this kind of liaison committee. It does allow us, both town and community councillors and county borough councillors, to get to know each other better and to understand what's going on out there, and to foster the good relationship I hope we have with the town and community councils. So I was very disappointed about that, and I hope it doesn't come to pass. One of the things I've read through the report, it's quite long. One of the things that was very noticeable was the mandatory training on code of conduct for community councillors. I was really, you know, shocked to see what problems there are and how many reports there are to the ombudsman and complaints. Because if you came to my community council, because I'm both county councillor and a community councillor, I think you'd be more likely to hear peals of laughter coming from the chamber than you would angry voices raised. And it's really not on for any kind of councillor to be, whatever authority they're in, to be bullying and harassing members. So this is a thing that probably has to be borne in mind if we make changes. So the suggestion is that the code of conduct for community councillors should be mandatory, and this means that you know, councillors would sign up and have to do it. But the problem is, how do you enforce that? So I don't know whether the officers have got any idea of what's in mind from the point of view of enforcement. It's probably going to be online, and some councillors can't manage online. So, you know, this raises a bit of a problem. Another point that was raised, which would be, I think, of particular interest to Councillor Teresa Heron, is that the report thinks that all areas should have a community council. Of course, some areas that we inherited from Islwyn haven't. So I think, and I know that Councillor Teresa Heron is quite interested in getting a community council in her area, and I'm wondering if officers have any remarks to make about how we can extend existence of community councillors to those wards that haven't got them. For instance, Penmine hasn't got one. One of the councillors in Risca did a campaign to set up a Risca town council, and we ended up with 2, and we were told that they had to have 2. They didn't particularly want 2 at the time, but now the Boundary Commission report wants both Risca councils to amalgamate, so there'd only be 1 in Risca. And I've got another point about local resolution of these complaints to take the burden off ombudsman. Now, I think, you know, the county monitoring officer is a suggestion for trying to sort some of the complaints out. These are complaints mostly about bullying and harassment, and that's a good idea, because the CCBC is constantly trying to offload things onto community councils without actually providing any money. If you look at the toilets, Christmas lighting, you know, Christmas celebrations generally. So it's only fair, really, that the CCBC should take a bit more interest in what happens in the community councils. And my final point is the size of community councils. Some of them are very small and very difficult for them to have more than a couple of hours for the clerk. Difficult for them to implement the financial regulations that are now required by the Audit Office. So could officers comment on these things?
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. I'll ask Lisa now to comment, and thank you for thinking about my area as well. Thank you.
Councillor Pritchard, Yeah, thank you for your comments. Unfortunately, we annexed those documents in relation to the charter specifically, and obviously the formal process, the consultation and the outcome of the consultation and the Welsh government's response is set out in the report, but it wasn't a matter for discussion here this evening. So those points you raised obviously were considered during that consultation process, but they don't actually form points for consideration under this particular report this evening. Obviously, we note your comments on the documentation, but we're specifically looking for members' comments on recommendation 8 contained within the report. Emma, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, it's just to advise members. I mean, 5:30 and we aren't looking at the abolishment of this committee. What we're looking at is members' views on how they think it should run. Are there ways we can run it more efficiently? Is there a way we can open up debate, bring other items for discussion in? It's looking at a way to make the liaison between the Principal Council and Town and Community Councils easier, more efficient, the way we share information. So that's what we're looking for in the review, is to ask for Town and Community Councils and the members of the committee to have a think about how this committee operates, whether they feel it could be done better, whether they feel it could be done differently, what changes they would like to see. Is a formal committee format the best format to use? Would a working group be better? Would a more informal setting be better? It's all things we'd like to look at in terms of a future model in line with the future model for the Charter, so that everything sort of comes together in a more thematic and more joined up way.
Thank you, Emma. We'll go through the recommendations. The recommendations are on page 7 and 8 of the officer's report as follows. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Can I just come in there, please? Because I, former chair of the Town and Community Liaison and current chair of the Area Committee covering Ron and Cunningham, Mercer and Caerphilly, I actually presented our charter as a model to One Voice Wales. So they've been using our model for years. So I don't know why Rhonda Cunningham was invited as a consultant, because we should have been, because we actually did present the model charter through myself at a presentation that I gave up at the One Voice Wales Area Committee meeting up in London, not Wales.
Can I just say, it's not the intention to exclude any town or community councils. It's the intention to cascade, a suitable, working, up-to-date model to all town and community councils.
Can I call in Bob Campbell, please?
Thank you, Chair. The Appendix 1, that's our charter, which has had a couple of black lines written through it. I presume that's going to be presented to this new committee of Welsh Government, One Voice Wales and Rhondda Cynon Taf as part of the model contract. I'm glad to see that the Town and Community Council Liaison Committee recommendations in red are still in there. That's great. I do query the comment about the progress. I presented this in June 24. Yeah, it's now nearly Christmas 25. So, right. It looks like the next step is your head of democratic services to survey the town and community councils. When's this going to happen? How long is it going to take? Well, I hope it'll be soon. Hope it'll be, say, well, yeah, we need a timescale, yeah. So hopefully by May 26, to give us at least 1 year of it up until the next elections, local government elections in May 2027. Thank you.
In terms of the highlighted corrections in the Charter that's attached to Appendix 1, these are the changes we discussed at the last meeting, where I advised the committee that, having reviewed the Charter, there were elements in there that were no longer have been replaced by other ways of working in recent years, more digital ways of working, things like supplying fax numbers, supplying me with agendas and minutes of your town and community council meetings. They're all available online now. So those are the amendments that I discussed at the last meeting that have been highlighted in this charter for members to see. The amendments that you requested, the amendments that I said we would be looking at in terms of the more digital way of working. In terms of that model charter, that is ours. It won't be presented to Rhondda Cynon Taf, One Voice Wales or Welsh Government, because they are working on a model charter that they will be presenting to us, which we will then bring to you to discuss whether or not, you know, this is the model that the organisations that you rely on for advice, One Voice Wales, are recommending that this is the charter that all town and community councils and all principal councils use as a model basis of good practice when it comes to a charter. So I think that's what this is looking at. What we're hoping for is that their collaboration will come through to us in a timely manner. We'll be able to share the new model with yourselves, and that new model then will be cascaded out through all the local authorities. So no matter where you are, what community council you sit on in Wales, you will be working and referring to and being supported by the same model charter, and that model charter will be reviewed by Welsh Government, the WLGA and One Voice Wales. So, you know, they will say, this is a model of good practice. This is what we would like to see. Please share it, cascade it. You know that you are working in exactly the same way as every other town and community council and principal authority. And I think, you know, that's only going to be a good thing, that there is a standard model of good practice that everyone will adhere to.
Thank you, Emma. Please can I call in Councillor Kevin Etheridge?
Thank you, Chair. We look at 3.4. It says that references there to a survey. Have we any idea when the survey is going out, and will there be an options paper? I'm pleased that Emma have said that they won't be looking to abolish the committee. If we then turn over to 5.13. Alternative ways of working. I do think we need to get more town councils on board, and it needs to be more effective. If we look at 5.14, there's already suggestions coming from, I assume, the officers in regarding current formal meetings management, regular informal liaison meetings, potentially with clerks or members' representations, which says should be held in the alternative. The latter could be jointly led and may better facilitate the sharing of information and good working practices. So what I'd like to ask Lisa or Emma, has any preparatory work been done on this already? And finally, if you've got a draft charter which is being done by One Voice Wales, the Welsh Local Government Association and Rhondda Cynon Taf, time that draft charter is done and it goes to every county council in Wales and to every clerk, would they agree with me that this would take sort of several months, and with the unitary elections approaching in 2027 and community council elections approaching at the same time, my perception is that this may not be in place until after the elections, and I wonder if they could get some clarification from Tim Pepin in the WLGA, who used to work in Caerphilly, some idea of time scale in regard that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Etheridge, just taking the last point first. Yeah, by all means, we'll seek a time scale. That's reasonable, and obviously we'll let members know if there's a set sort of time frame for the amended charter. In terms of the contents of 5.14, they were my comments, and they were included in the report really to give members some suggestions really as to how they feel the committee's working well, which parts may work more collaboratively, more efficiently. So there's nothing set in stone, hence the reason we're asking members' views via a survey so that we can collate all views and then obviously bring that information back to the committee then, possibly with some recommendations going forward. In terms of the time frame for the survey, because I think Bob asked earlier and I think we omitted to answer that, Bob. I would like, obviously with the Christmas period coming up, it's not an ideal time to survey members, so I would like to think we would probably commence the survey within the next 3 months, Emma, would be reasonable, and obviously give members then a decent period of time in order to consider the survey and come back to us with their detailed views. So I hope that's okay for the members, but obviously we're happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Lisa. Can I just check with Councillor Judith Pritchard? Have we got a legacy hand, please?
No, it's another question.
Okay, I'll call you in then.
Oh, yes. It's about the communication between the town and community councils and CCBC. We get a lot of information from our clerk, so presumably she gets it from CCBC. I'm not sure that all clerks circulate the same amount of information, but I would say that, we were kept quite well informed, except that we don't get enough notice of some things, like the toilet closures, for instance. We weren't approached, a few months prior to the council CCBC deciding to close all the toilets. They just closed, and then there was such a public demand that we went and took on the one in Ystrad, which is basically quite a lot of work and a lot of work for the clerk. So I would like more notice. That's one way in which our working relationships could be improved. If things like that could be discussed with us, and then we could be given time to decide whether to put the precept up, for instance, in order to pay for whatever it is, or is it something that we don't want to pay for. Now, recently, at our meeting last Wednesday, we had an item asking us whether we'd bear the whole cost of the Christmas fair next year. I think we're all right until with the spring fair, but we've been asked to come up with something like, well, it could be as much as £26,000 in order for the fair to continue, because CTBC say they may not have the money to finance it. Well, that's a big that would be a big thing for us to take on, and it would have been helpful if we'd had a bit more notice. The notice isn't bad because we've still got time to decide whether we want to do it or not and put up a precept, which we can do. But these things, need pretty in-depth discussion. So that's one way where our working relationships could be improved.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Myself and Sharon probably send the majority of the communications and notifications out to the town and community council clerks. As soon as we have them, that information is circulated. We're very proactive in doing that. Obviously, I can't comment for other groups and departments and their timescales when they notify town and community councils of projects or things that they need to know. We're not always informed that those emails are going out. I can certainly feed back in terms of giving more notice. We are governed by some statutory deadlines. Everybody knows the issues that we have with the budget every year, where the local government settlement comes in later and later, giving less and less time for us to circulate information out. But where we have the information in, we circulate that out as quickly as possible. So, you'll have received numerous communications from us to the clerks on 21st century schools developments. We send out communications on the fetes, the winter fetes, the summer fetes and things like that. So, where we can we share information as quickly and as timely as we possibly can. If it hits myself or Sharon, you get it straight away. And I'll certainly feed back to other departments that more notice where it can be given, should be given.
Thank you, Emma. Can I check, is there any other comments to be made? Thank you. Thank you, members. The recommendations are on page 7 and 8 of the officers' report as follows. 3.1. The Town and Community Council Liaison Subcommittee note the content of the report and the inquiry report from the Local Government and Housing Committee role, governance and accountability of the Community and Town Council sector, recommendation 8, and the response from Welsh Government to its recommendations in relation to the Model Charter. 3.2. That any updates to the Charter be deferred until the outcome of the collaboration work between the WLGA, One Voice Wales and Rhondda Cynon Council, and the review of the Model Charter principle between principal and community councils is concluded. 3.3. A further report on the Model Charter be presented to a future meeting of the Community Council Liaison Subcommittee with a view to updating the Caerphilly Charter in line with the new Model Charter requirements. 3.4. The Head of Democratic Services survey all members of the Town and Community Councils and clerks together with the County Borough Councillors of this committee to seek their views on the role of the subcommittee going forward. Please could I have a mover and a seconder for this?
I'll move, Chair.
A second.
All those in favour, please indicate now by raising your hands. Please lower your hands. All those against, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands.
I'm not against, Chair. Yeah, I got it now.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Any abstentions, please raise your hands.
Okay, Chair, that's carried by majority that voted.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item number 8, festive lighting. This item was added to the agenda at the request of the Town and Community Council Liaison Committee. I will bring in Bob Campbell at this point, and we have officers in the meeting to take any questions. If you have any questions later, please indicate using your hands up function or raise your hands in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. May or June this year, the Caerphilly Street Lighting Engineer contacted me, and I believe the other clerks in the town and communities, asking for plans for festive lighting for Christmas 2025, and gave certain conditions that we had to comply with. The summer went by, then June and July, August we were in recess, so it was only until September that I really had a chance to chase up and locate the certificates and the backup papers for the Risca town residents and the business in Risca for Christmas this year. It's taken no end of my time and my council members' time and my local contractors' time to achieve all the necessary and the additional documents. And at about 4:30 this afternoon, I think the Caerphilly Street Lighting Engineer gave us the go-ahead for it with certain other conditions. So I think at least Risca Town will have festive lanterns this Christmas. Yeah. I think one of the issues we have is that it's very similar to what Councillor Judith Pritchard said again. You know, it's the consultation or lack of timing again. You know, to let us know in the summer, with say half a year to go, to find all this information, and if we were unable to take on one of the Caerphilly County Borough Council's listed contractors at double the cost to the Risca Town community, that would have been well, it's a no-goer. We could not justify that. Yeah, as you know, we and this is where I struggle to find some of the Caerphilly County Borough Council officers don't realise that we have to set our budgets. I told Emma and Sharon this loads of times over the years. We've got to set our budgets in November and December, which then have to be ratified in January and submitted to Caerphilly County Borough Council by the 31st of January each year for the following year. So coming to us in the summer of 2025, if we couldn't supply all the information, to find possibly an extra 14, well, somewhere between 7 and 14,000 for this one festive project for the residents, for the businesses, it's unreasonable, it's undoable, it's not doable. If it had been given us, say, time, say for the next financial year, I think we'd have all accepted it. But it is the unreasonableness of the Caerphilly County Borough Council officers' timescales. We all understand the safety implications of being out on the highway. Yeah, you know, I know we got to protect the public and our operatives and ourselves and our people and our businesses. But yet again, it's the timescale is just not suitable. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the festive lights going up in Risca Town very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Is there an officer who can answer, Bob, please?
Yes, I can answer.
Thank you, Gareth.
In my defence, I've been in this role since June 2024. I assume that all the documentation that I've included in this year's and last year's festive pack was handed out to all the town and community councils and third-party organisations by my predecessor. So they would have included the festive indemnity form, our festive lighting requirements, and our festive agreement form. The only addition that I've included in this year's festive pack is the inclusion of technical guidance for catenary cables. So just to apologise, just to assume that my predecessor sent out all this information before I took up this role, basically.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Thank you. Councillor Michael Parkin.
Councillor Michael Parker, Risca. Although everybody appreciates that certificates are not all the same, it would be nice to know what type of standard is used. But the one I found difficult to get my head around was you asked for a traffic management competency. Now I understand, and I could be totally wrong because it's not my job, but I spoke to someone that I know that was fairly high up somewhere in highways and byways. And he told me that there's no need to have traffic lights to enable us to put our lights up. And as it was out of hours, the restrictions, according to your red book, is slightly less. This is something new. I've never seen this asked for, although you said that we've all been asked for things in the past, which I totally agree. But this one I've not seen before, so I couldn't get my head around it, as if what I understand it is that if you put flags up, which you do as a council on the lamppost, you need the same principle. And if you dig a hole in the road, you need the same principle. And yet, I live on the main road, right outside where you would put posters up, and where in the past there's been work done on the road. I've not seen this sort of light system. I've seen a system where there's been cones and then the traffic has been directed in during the daylight. where am I coming from? We only try as individuals, as people who are not paid people, trying to do their best for the community. And I find, yes, I know you've got a responsible job, and yes, but I do feel that, and you might be right, I don't know, you've worked in the department, so you should know, that things might not have been done right in the past. But I understand there's 20 community councils that are having the same effect as we are having, and I would like to thank you for allowing us to put our lights on this year. But I feel that maybe talking to people and helping us through the financial side of it, because most town and community councils, like the council, can't just raise money. And to raise an extra £7,000 or £8,000 is a lot of money for communities to find. And I would thought, instead of emails that I've seen and received, I would have thought a bit more compassion should have been shown instead of the slightly dogmatic attitude that's on some of my emails. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Can I go to Gavin Barry? Are you able to give us a comment?
Hi both. Hi Chair. Thank you very much for letting me come in there. I'd just like to go back to the councillor's comments there around, firstly, to pick up on the streetworks qualification that was queried around the ability to work within the highway. What this does, as a highway custodian, we have a statutory function that we need to fulfil, and we have there's a number of levels of obligation, statutory commitments that we have to obligate around that. So the streetworks qualification that we've captured is something that we extend across any private contractor, any public contractor, anybody who wants to work within the highway that falls under our jurisdiction. So it's something that ensures there's a level of competency to undertake the activities in the highway network competently, adequately, and it preserves not only our interests, but the interests of the individuals. And going along from the streetworks comments, it is a requirement. There is no relaxation outside of the core working hours, and it is a requirement. If we note any illegal activities on the highway, whether it's something that we haven't instructed, whether it's a private contractor or whether it's someone working within the authority that hasn't got the necessary authorization to undertake those tasks, we will certainly be having that discussion with them around the need for authorization and engagement with the highways team. To add to Gareth Fleming's point around predecessors and what we've rolled up over other years, this has fundamentally been in place, and the status quo has been there for the last 2 years. So last year there was very limited uptake from the community councils. This year it's far higher, and which is fantastic news for us. And I think out of the 27 councils that we had last year, we've got 22 that are approved. So everyone is approved if they come in with a certification, relevant accreditation. So everybody's satisfied to that end. But I certainly empathise with the position around funding. I've been in the position where funding is scrutinised myself, so I understand it's a community-led event. And we don't try to be overzealous or over bigotry for the needlessly. We need to consider this, especially when we're looking at electricity and the sort of ramifications of getting it wrong. It's not something, I don't apologise for being extremely cautious when it comes to accessing our street lighting assets and the potential outfall from that. Should a minor or another party engage with that and the asset becomes live, the street lighting column is live as a result of uncontrolled access into that street lighting column, it's something that we will always continue to scrutinise and monitor. But we will certainly go down further routes of engagement with community councils, and going into next year we will have an open house and a workshop here at Highways House in April 2026, where we will invite community councils to come in and have the discussions with the highways team around the events they're looking to undertake and where we can assist, aid and provide some assistance in that regard.
Thank you, Gavin. Did anybody else want to make a comment on this? No, thank you very much.
Look, they jumped in
Got a
there.
hand up. Oh, Gareth, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Gavin, for taking all those points. And I'd just like to say that to everybody from the town council that I'm very approachable, and if anybody has any queries or requires any help in regard to any of the elements within the festive pack, I'm always at the end of the phone, and I'm always willing to meet on site, and I'm always willing to try and get everybody's application across the line just to fulfil their festive lighting needs.
Thank you, Gareth. Can I call in Councillor Kevin Etheridge, please?
Yeah, I would just like to echo and support Michael Parker in his comments about compassion. Some of the emails I seen going back and forth were quite assertive, and I'm so pleased now that you've agreed to have a workshop next year, because having emails back and forth just annoys people, and people sort of put up the barriers. But that's all in the past now. What I wanted to ask, Gavin, is every town council now, have they been allowed to put their festive lighting up?
Out of the 25 town councils approached us last year, we've had, 27. We've had 22 that have been accepted and approved, and they've had confirmation that all of the certification is in, the application form has been accepted. So, and there's a number, I believe, that have dropped out. I think there are 2 that we've had no responses on, and I think there's one through Getley Gay that may be run as a sort of a triumvirate with a number of other smaller community groups as well. So, with the exception of the 2 that we've had no responses on, and I can only assume that they are not being delivered this year, everybody else has moved forward.
Can you give us some assurance if they do put the lighting up and they haven't had authorization, that no formal action will be taken against them, or couldn't you give that assurance?
Are we talking in terms of the 2 that have yet to be submitted their forms and be approved?
Yes.
I don't think I can give that assurance at this point, because there is the risk when you're accessing the EV side of the street lighting assets that it needs to be that you're using appropriate, trained and qualified and competent individuals, and that we need to make sure that anybody accessing those street lighting assets, that it doesn't put our asset at risk, or members of the public who are walking past and potentially being exposed to that. We will certainly look to work with them if they come into to provide an application late in the day. That goes without saying. I can't say that there'd be no formative action, but I can't give any approval without the necessary certification and a sort of qualifications to back that up. So we are consistent across the county borough then with all of the councils.
Thank you, Gavin. Can I call in Gareth Fleming, please?
Yes, I'd just like to add to Gavin's comment as well, that we have a legal duty under the Highways Act to keep our highways safe and free from danger. Any festive lighting or other attachments placed on street lighting columns without authorization must be treated as a potential risk. If any item or unauthorized or unsafe, we are required to remove it and may recover the cost. This is not a punitive action, but a legal obligation to protect the public, ensure electrical safety, and to uphold our responsibilities. But I would certainly like to try and liaise with the town council that may not have submitted the application before any of those measures were undertaken.
Thank you, Gareth. Are there any more questions? We'll move on to item number 9, agenda number 9, briefing note. Members, the briefing note is attached to your agenda pack on pages 89 and 90. If you have any questions, please email them to Sharon Hughes, who is the Community Council Liaison Officer, following the meeting, who will coordinate a response to the relevant officers. Thank you all for attending. This closes the meeting, and thank you members for your attendance. The recording will now be stopped. Members joining us remotely, can you leave the meeting? And for those attending in the chamber, have a safe journey home.